Some truly amazing images that we're looking at there that only can come from National Geographic. For more than 122 years, the magazine has provided breathtaking pictures from across the globe. It is no wonder the publication is the #1 media brand on Instagram. To note, our parent company, 21st Century Fox, owns a majority stake in the company. Joining me right now is Susan Goldberg. She is National Geographic's editor-in-chief. And Susan, it is good to have you on the program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. So those pictures, looking at the world through National Geographic, I feel like I grew up with it. How different is it, or how have things changed for you in terms of keeping this magazine alive in a world of digital?
Well, we've got a great opportunity with digital to reach a whole new audience of readers and users of our content. And I actually think the fact that now everybody has a camera in their hands 24/7 makes people really appreciate the power of our visual imagery even more. People understand how tough it is to get those pictures that actually transport you to a place that otherwise you'd never get to
You're
go.
absolutely right. So has the magazine changed over the years? What are you doing differently then?
Well, I think we're changing in a couple of ways. Not only are we choosing different kinds of stories than we always have, but we're putting them out in different ways. You know, as you mentioned, we're the #1 brand on Instagram. We reach every month about 760 million people in 172 countries in 43 languages across all of our platforms. So there's this enormous reach, and a lot of that is through our digital and social platforms. So we're going to take our stories and we're going to put them together in different ways depending on the platform people want to use them. So we'll present a different story on Snapchat, the way, you know, young people want to get that story, from the way we'll present that story on Facebook, and it'll be different still in the magazines on television. So part of it is how we're distributing the content, but part is the stories that we're tackling in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you're taking different angles on the stories that we're all talking about. In the November issue, the new issue, National Geographic conducted its Search for Happiness. Nat Geo, along with Gallup, searched to find the happiest city in the USA, as well as some of the happiest countries on the planet. So where should we be living right now if we want to be happy?
So you should either in the United States, you should live in Boulder, Colorado, and if you want to live in the world, you should live in Costa Rica, Denmark, or Singapore. And this was not just our opinion. I mean, this was really scientific, done by author Dan Buettner, a New York Times bestselling author for us, who's really gone out there and tried to figure out what are the conditions needed in societies to make people happy. And a lot of it has to do with the conditions created by governments so people can succeed.
So tell me about Boulder, Colorado, then. Why would that be the #1 in the U.S.?
Well, people in Boulder love the outdoors. They're healthy, so they take advantage of that climate. The government has got a lot of very socially progressive policies, which gets along with the mindsets of the people who live there. So really, happiness is very much dependent on what the people in those communities want. So the people in Denmark want different things from the people in Singapore, but the governments of each have responded in ways that make people happy.
I love the fact that you are also covering sort of the issues of the day, but in a different angle. So Nat Geo recently covered the growing opioid crisis here in America by looking at it through science. What were you able to come away with?
Well, I mean, what we're trying to figure out is how science is helping people overcome those addictions. Everybody else is going to report the fact that we've got this incredibly awful opioid crisis going on. Where I think we have the added value is explaining what some of those solutions are from a scientific perspective for people. And there are really new solutions on the horizon that I think should give people some hope.
You yourself has made history, Susan. Congratulations to you, the first female editor of National Geographic Magazine. You've got a storied career already. Where does this rank?
Well, obviously, I'm really honored and humbled to be the first female editor. But Maria, what I always think is when I'm not the first female anything is going to be when we're living in a much more equitable society. When having women leaders in journalism or business or politics or any profession is just the normal course of events and not something so unusual. That's when I think that we'll really be in the better place.
What's ahead for National Geo going into 18?
Well, we've got some wonderful stories coming up. I mean, we're going to keep on doing cutting-edge journalism, both visually and textually, that are about the stories that people are talking about, whether that's gender or race or the future of sustainability in cities. You know, we're always covering issues like climate change, species preservation. These are stories that are really important to this next generation of readers and users, these millennials, but just important to our society in general.
Of course, and we know that given the popularity on Instagram.
Absolutely.
So you've actually expanded your audience in that regard.
Enormously. So we have about 80 million people on our main Instagram account who are our followers. And we've given our photographers the keys to the account. It's their authentic stories that come through.
Congratulations, Susan. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria.
Susan Goldberg, National Geographic.